Under the Irish Sea lies a 4-mile tunnel. Whitehaven kept a secret. On May 11, 1910, Wellington Pit exploded. Fathers and brothers fell in the dark. Names like John McKinney and Joseph Lowry never returned. You will hear how a small spark became a wave of death. You will meet the families who woke to silence. You will see the failures that turned routine work into disaster. Stay until the end to hear the unanswered questions that still echo. Stay until the end for the single moment that changed a town forever. The chimney rose above the field in Whitehaven, Cumbria, a tall brick column. Locals called the structure a candlestick. The candlestick marked the spot of the old Wellington Pit. The ground around the candlestick looked calm. Grass moved in the wind. A visitor would never guess that a tunnel once ran beneath the area. The tunnel ran for more than 4 miles under the Irish Sea. Hundreds of miners walked through that tunnel each day. They walked to the coal face and back through the same narrow path. The main road of the mine was the only route for the workers. The main road carried air, heat, noise, dust, and danger. The main road led to one of the worst mining tragedies in British history. The Wellington Pit disaster shocked the town of Whitehaven on the morning of May 11, 1910. The community lost fathers, brothers, sons, and friends. The names that echoed through the streets included John McKinney, Joseph Lowry, Robert Simpson, and many others. The mine sat near the harbor, close to the Irish Sea. The pit had long tunnels that reached under the seabed. The tunnels had supported the mining district for decades. Work was hard. Conditions were tight. Coal dust coated the walls. Water gathered in lower areas. Air carried a sharp smell of gas. Families lived with fear, but families also trusted the mine owners. Trust was fragile. The disaster crushed that trust. The shafts at Wellington Pit descended into darkness. The main shaft and the upcast shaft served as lifelines. The miners walked through these routes each day. The main road ran forward from the lower levels. The main road spread into side branches. Miners used lamps to light their way. The lamps gave weak light. The miners relied on sound and memory to move. Many of the men began their work before sunrise. The air in the tunnel felt warm and thick. Early warnings of gas showed up in reports through the years. Gas remained a known threat in coal mines. Gas alone did not kill. Gas with a spark did. On the morning of the disaster, more than 100 miners gathered for work. No one sensed danger. The men walked into the mine with slow steps. Some spoke about pay. Others spoke about new boots, new tools, or a sick child. Many kept silent. The routine shaped their day. The town above had no idea that the final hours of many lives had begun. The explosion struck with a violent roar. The blast pushed through the main road. The blast ripped through chambers. The blast threw dust and rock into the air. The blast crushed support beams. The blast killed miners near the center of the shock. The blast sent a rush of heat down the tunnels. The blast sent a wave of darkness up the shaft. People near the pit head heard the sound. Windows shook. Tools fell from hooks. Birds fled the harbor. The ground trembled under the nearby homes of Duke Street and Lowther Street. Workers at the surface tried to look down the shaft. Thick smoke rose. Dense dust filled the air. Shouts echoed above. Families ran toward the candlestick. Mothers held children close. The wives cried. The crowd grew fast. Rumors spread through the crowd. People asked who was down below. No one had clear lists at first. The mine office scrambled to confirm names. Rescue parties prepared to enter the pit. The rescue men wore basic breathing gear. The gear gave limited oxygen. The gear gave no comfort. The rescue party leader, William Scott, gathered his team. The team moved to the shaft. The team feared that pockets of gas still waited inside the tunnels. The team climbed into the cage. The cage dropped into the pit. The rescue party felt pressure build as they descended. The air carried smoke and dust. The lamps gave dim light. The main road looked blocked by rubble. The rescue party pushed forward. The silent bodies of miners appeared in the debris. The rescue party checked for signs of life. No signs appeared. The bodies bore marks of the blast. Some miners lay under collapsed beams. Some miners lay against the walls. The rescue party marked locations and moved deeper. The deeper areas had higher gas levels. The team's breathing gear struggled. The team pushed on. The team found no survivors. 7 minutes into the descent, one rescue member felt fear rise. The fear came from the knowledge that the mine still held trapped gas. It came from the thought of a second blast. A hidden pocket of gas could ignite at any moment. The rescue team pressed forward because the town waited above, desperate for answers. The mine manager, John Pattinson, arrived at the scene. Pattinson understood the structure of the mine. He knew the risks. He gave orders to clear debris and increase airflow. Rescue efforts continued. The men at the surface lowered more supplies. More volunteers stepped forward. Many volunteers lost family members in the blast. Grief fueled their steps. Grief filled their voices. Grief set the tone of the day.
As the rescue teams moved deeper, the scale of the tragedy unfolded. The explosion had spread far beyond the first chambers. The blast had torn through the main road nearly to the far end. Many miners had been caught in tight spaces with no escape. Bodies showed signs of burns and blunt force trauma. The blast wave had struck them at close range. The heat had burned clothes. The dust had smothered lungs. The walls of the tunnel held thick layers of soot. The debris piles showed signs of force. Rocks had blown from one side to the other. Wood beams had split. The rescue workers pressed on. The team reached the deeper section known as the main dip. Gas readings rose. The flame in a lamp flickered. This sign warned the team of danger. They retreated. They had to wait for air to clear. Above ground, families waited for news. Names spread through the crowd. The number of missing men increased. The realization spread through the town. Many families had lost someone. Large groups gathered near the pit head. The fresh air mixed with smoke from the shaft. Children asked where their fathers were. Mothers had no answer. Priests arrived to support the crowd. Community leaders stood near the shaft. 7 minutes later, tension peaked again. The crowd demanded a report. No clear answer came down. Rescue workers could not provide details. Families felt anger rise. The mine owners attempted to address the crowd. Their statements offered no comfort. Their words lacked substance. The crowd wanted facts. The crowd wanted hope. Hope faded under the weight of the moment. Deeper in the mine, the rescue team cleared new space. More bodies surfaced. Team members grew tired. Some members struggled with broken lamps. Others struggled with smoke. A second rescue team rotated in. The teams worked through the afternoon. Reports moved up the shaft during short breaks. The total number of dead climbed. The miners who worked in the deeper sections had no chance to escape. Many had died instantly. Others had died from choke gas. Rescue teams found groups of men huddled together. Many of them had placed cloth over their mouths. The cloth had offered no protection. Some had tried to reach side passages. The side passages had collapsed. Engineers examined the tunnel damage. Engineers looked for the source of the blast. Engineers believed that a section of the tunnel had held a high volume of explosive gas. Engineers believed that a spark from a lamp or a tool had ignited the gas. Once the gas ignited, the fireball spread through the dust. The dust exploded. The dust fed the blast. Coal dust in mining tunnels often turns a small fire into a deadly wave. The Wellington pit held enough dust to amplify the initial fire. The dust rose with the force of the shock. The dust fed the flames. The chain of events destroyed the main road. The rescue team leader called for additional safety checks. He worried that the path ahead still held heat and gas. Teams moved methodically. Teams avoided speed. Speed risked disaster. Slow steps preserved life. Slow steps protected the rescue teams. Word spread across the country. Newspapers printed updates. Reporters arrived at Whitehaven. Reporters stood near the harbor and took notes on the crowd. The names of the victims spread through the papers. Families wrote letters to relatives. The region watched Whitehaven with sympathy. The region felt the weight of the tragedy. 7 minutes into the next stage of recovery, workers found deeper chambers filled with smoke. The smoke refused to clear. The smoke created delays. The smoke forced pauses. During these pauses, the rescue workers sat in silence. Silence weighed on them. Silence gave them space to think about their own families. The men carried on. The recovery continued into the next day. The rescue teams wore fresh equipment. The rescue teams brought stronger lamps. The air improved in lower sections. The men pushed deeper. The men reached the far end where the tunnel approached the seabed. The men found more bodies. The far end of the tunnel bore heavy damage. Some areas had collapsed so severely that engineers warned that the roof might fall again. In the town above, a temporary morgue opened in a community hall. Authorities placed the bodies inside the hall. Family members walked inside to identify their loved ones. The hall grew silent during each identification. The hall carried the weight of grief. The hall became the center of mourning. Volunteers prepared tea and bread for the families. Volunteers cleaned the hall. Volunteers provided blankets. Everyone tried to support one another. The mine owners promised a full investigation. The town welcomed the promise. The town also doubted that the promise had value. The town wanted answers. The town wanted accountability. Many workers had complained about gas for years. Many workers had raised concerns about ventilation. Ventilation in the Wellington pit relied heavily on the upcast shaft. The machinery that forced air through the tunnels struggled with dust and gas. Reports showed that airflow had not improved in recent months. Workers claimed that dust layers had grown thick. Workers claimed that cleaning had slowed. The inquest into the cause began weeks after the blast. The inquest brought engineers, miners, and doctors before the board. The inquest examined maps of the pit. The maps showed areas with known gas pockets. The maps showed areas with weak supports. The board questioned the mine manager. The board asked about inspection procedures. The board asked about training. The board asked about lamp checks. The board asked about reports from miners. The inquest found that the explosion likely began in the south district of the mine. The ignition source remained uncertain. The inquest found that coal dust contributed to the scale of the explosion. The inquest found that ventilation was inadequate in certain sections. The inquest issued recommendations. Families wanted stronger action. Families felt that the conclusions avoided deeper responsibility. Families pushed for stronger laws.
7 minutes later, the board heard a final series of statements from local leaders. These statements urged stronger safety standards. These statements urged closer oversight. These statements urged more inspections. These statements brought no comfort to the families who still waited for closure. The Wellington pit closed after the disaster. The tunnels remained sealed. The sea continued to move above them. The candlestick remained above ground. The structure stayed as a reminder of the tragedy. The community continued to visit the site. Flowers appeared near the candlestick on anniversaries. Plaques displayed the names of the victims. The story passed from one generation to the next. Over time, experts reviewed records from the mine. Experts examined gas readings. Experts examined ventilation reports. Experts compared the Wellington pit disaster to other mining tragedies in Britain. The closest comparison was the Levant mine disaster in Cornwall. The Levant mine disaster involved a collapse of a man engine. Both events showed that mining carried risks that needed stronger oversight. Both events shook local communities. Both events pushed the government to tighten rules. The Wellington pit disaster demonstrated the danger of long tunnels under the sea. The main road extended far under the seabed. Pressure from above made the walls vulnerable. Water seeped into lower sections. Gas filled pockets in deeper sections. The workers depended on lighting that produced sparks. The workers carried no modern sensors. The workers lacked escape routes. The town of Whitehaven rebuilt its community. The harbor continued to function. Ships brought goods. Shops reopened. Life continued. The memory of the disaster stayed with the families. The memory left a mark on the culture of the region. The memory appeared in school lessons and local stories. Visitors walk to the candlestick today.
Visitors stand near the brick structure. Visitors read the memorial plaques. Visitors learn about the miners who lost their lives. The candlestick marks the entrance to a story that changed the community. 7 minutes into a visitor may sense the weight of the place. The wind moves across the field. The sound of the sea reaches the site. The calm surface hides the depth below. The tunnels remain sealed, dark and silent. The memory remains sharp. The disaster left a permanent mark. The story of the Wellington Pit disaster is a story of danger, duty, loss, and community resilience. The story shows how a single spark in a gas-filled tunnel can destroy an entire workforce. The story shows how families pay the highest cost. The story shows how the ground beneath a peaceful harbor can hide a path of destruction. Whitehaven remembers those who died on that morning in May 1910. The names remain alive in the community. The families speak of their fathers and grandfathers. The town honors them with ceremonies. Schools teach history. Tourists visit the site. The disaster shaped the region. The disaster forced change. The disaster stands as a warning to all industries that deal with dangerous environments. The story of the Wellington Pit carries sorrow. The story carries a call for caution. The story carries respect for the workers who risk their lives each day. The community will never forget them. Their journey through the main road under the sea ended in darkness, but their memory stands above ground near the candlestick. The candlestick still stands at Kells, overlooking the Irish Sea. The brick tower rises toward the sky. The tower holds no sound. The tower marks a tragedy that shaped a generation. The tower stands as a reminder of the miners of Whitehaven. The tower stands as a symbol of families who endured loss. The tower stands as a call for vigilance in workplaces across the world. Their story draws viewers into a journey of danger and courage. Their story compels viewers to reflect on the cost of coal. Their story brings questions that demand attention. Their story invites viewers to explore the full documentary for a complete understanding. Their story remains one of the most powerful mining tragedies in British history. Thank you for watching. Remember the men of Wellington Pit. Share this film with someone who should know. Leave a comment naming the moment that stayed with you. Subscribe and turn on notifications to follow future films. Keep their names alive by speaking about this story. Demand stronger safety where risk exists.